All right, so what's the
Topic
first
suggestion for today. This is from David Ramos. David Ramos says, "What can Bernie or Tulsi campaign learn from the way Donald Trump ran in 2016? Don't be racist." All right, next topic.
That's not what he could learn from the campaign.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Trump won. What are you talking about? Trump won. What are you talking about?
Well, I'm just saying, like...
But Trump won.
Well, don't be racist. I know, but still don't be racist.
But he won. Yeah, I guess my point is, what's the goal? The larger objective is to get elected.
Babe,
everything else is subordinate.
Calm down.
I'm making a point that don't be racist is not necessarily a political policy. That's an identitarian policy, and that doesn't work because Trump is president of the United States.
Do you realize it was a joke? It was a... It didn't sound like a joke. It didn't sound like a joke. I literally said, don't be racist. Okay, moving on.
Yeah, but that didn't work.
That didn't seem like a joke. You thought it was 100% full on serious that was going to be the answer.
Because Trump is racist. I mean, that's what making the point is like...
Okay, well, answer it.
Saying don't be racist is not a policy position.
Address the topic, please.
Look, it goes a few points. The Democratic Party is not the Republican Party. The limits that Trump had are not the same as Sanders and Tulsi, but audaciousness is something he can definitely get from Trump. Because, oftentimes they say, oh, you can't get away with that. You can't get away with that. Trump won.
People, I think the big thing about Trump, this is my 2 cents or less than 2 cents, but he was different and he was not just the average kind of politician.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we don't want, or people don't want, clearly just another politician that's going to come and, be a fucking robot.
They don't want someone established
that they can relate to on whatever level, but just like,
I think they wanted something that would hack down the system because they hated the way the system was. And when you had an establishment politician running against a guy who was a reality show host who wasn't, in an election season where the establishment wasn't necessarily the most prized possession. I mean, they put Hillary Clinton, and it was like the worst election Clinton could have ever ran in, and they put her up and she lost. Look, Trump went after the Republican order in as much as he did the established order, meaning what goes for typical politics, he went after it full bore. The racist stuff, they didn't care about. I mean, the identity stuff, they did not care about as much. I don't want Sanders and Tulsi to go and be racist, so don't get that thing. But a focus on economics seems to be a big deal. Like, less about identity. Like, identity seems to be less the thing that people care about. And for obvious reasons. The public is divided. I mean, 13% is black, about 15% is Hispanic, 60, give or take, is white.
I want someone shouting from the rooftops about how different they're going to be than everything that we've seen before. That's what Trump did in 2016. I mean, he was the complete opposite of anything that we'd ever seen before, until people were like, well, maybe this change will be good because we obviously need a change.
Problem is, Sanders has to get through a Democratic primary. Once he gets through the primary, I agree with you. But getting through the primary in a Democratic primary is not easy because it's identity politics. Like, it's like, listen to the way they're talking about Warren and Harris. They're propping up Warren. MSNBC is doing that. They're propping up Warren. They're even trying to offer you a little bit of Harris. Why do you think they had Cory Booker standing there? It wasn't because Cory Booker was valuable. Nobody cared about Cory Booker. Cory Booker like 1%. He barely make it to the third debate. Kamala Harris
is that good establishment Democrat.
She didn't even consider herself black. And yet, now, she's all of a sudden black. And black people are like, ooh, we got to vote for Kamala Harris. She's what? She was what? She didn't even consider herself one of you. Like, this identity politics stuff, man.
It's trash.
Look, there's a subjective barrier. Don't get me wrong. I don't want the guy coming out screaming, vile, offensive stuff. By the same token, I don't necessarily want a person running the campaign that's ensconced in that, because the issues that often covers up real issues, like issues of economics, issues that affect each of us across the board, whether you're white, black, gay, straight, Hispanic. Like, there's some things, particularly in the economic space, that affects us all. My ability to pay my bill, my ability to be able to get a job that pays well, my ability to create a business, for that matter. My ability to be able to take care of my mom or myself when I get sick. My ability when I get older to be able to live a decent life without necessarily being, working for until you're 90. Those things matter, but those things are acts of policy. And if you're screaming to the heavens about your race, that's never going to touch it. In fact, I would argue the race stuff is a way of not talking about the other stuff.
Yeah.
Voting for Kamala Harris doesn't get you there. Voting for Elizabeth Warren, at the very least, she talks about policy, but I don't think she's necessarily going to win against Trump. But they're propping them up. Part of the reason they don't like Sanders, in an odd way, I think it's because he's white and he's old.
And he's a dude, according to that lady
and he's a man.
who was on
Yeah.
TV, and she was
it's so bizarre.
He doesn't have a penis. I mean, he doesn't have a
he
vagina.
doesn't have a vagina.
So I can't relate to him.
He doesn't have a vagina.
He makes my skin crawl.
I can't be certain, but he doesn't have a vagina.
All right, so really quick before we go.
I guess my point is audaciousness is not something that people are going to hate you for. The political class would dislike you for it. The public itself will not. When Tulsi Gabbard comes out and attacks Kamala Harris, why do you think she's doing that? She's doing that to draw fire.
Some black vote.
She needs attention. She needs attention. That's what it is. When she's out there in Puerto Rico, she needs attention. When she's suing Google for $50 million, she needs attention.
Someone asked about that too, but that's because she needs attention.
She needs attention. She's a politician. She's trying to get to the third debate stage. I don't blame her. Look, your job, and for the people who support you and say, okay, I'm going to give you money because I want you, I want your opinion and everything else. You are to do any and everything at your disposal to stay in that race and to prosper. It is your job. When Elizabeth Warren is like, yes, reparations, here, me. And it's like, you're for reparations for the American descendants of slaves? I didn't say that. I just said I was for reparations. Like, what?
We're not going to talk about specifics.
We're not going to be
specific.
That I'm for reparations. Just know I'm for it. Then how are you for it if it's not specific?
Take my word for it.
Just take my word for it. Or she raised her hand. She was raising her hand on everything. If you brought up anything, she raised her hand for it. Medicare for all. Right here. And then she would backstep it. I'm not going to take any corporate money.
The specifics don't matter, but overall,
I'm not going to take corporate money. And then it's like, I'm not
right now.
Later. Like, look, their job is to get from point A to point B. And what they know is if they can get through the primary, you will forgive them for their lies because they're going against Donald Trump. Now, my argument is you should not forgive them for their lies. If they say something in the primary, you should hold them accountable for it. And even if it's against the devil himself. Because otherwise, the candidates you're going to get are going to continuously lie to you. And I'm saying lying to you is not a minor faux pas. It gets us the world to which we have.
All right, real quick on this topic. Joel Sass, we've got another super chat, but I'll go back to that one. Joel Sass, because it's on this topic. Thank you, Joel. He says, things to learn from the last election. Populist rhetoric works.
Yes.
Further, racism could be considered a populist gesture, assuming that the black vote will never go to a Republican.
Yes, that too. Like, you can get away with this. Honestly, I think they think that Trump has overplayed his hand. That when he's attacking, like, Ilhan Omar and all these other people, like Lewis recently, we're going to talk about that one, where he's attacking him saying, Baltimore is full of rats and all this other stuff. I think they think, oh my God, Trump is going too far in the racist stuff. I don't think he is. Don't get me wrong, I don't like it. I think it's racist. So don't misunderstand me. And I'm saying that there's a subjectivity in considering something racist versus not. And so whites would be less inclined to call something racist. So fair enough. It's subjective. But you have a large share of the population that's white. And I think they will give him the benefit of the doubt on some of this stuff because they themselves don't want to get put into the same box. Like, I've had people on the channel that there's been stuff where people on the channel would be like, I don't know if that's so-and-so. And to me, it's the clearest thing in the world. Especially when he goes further into his commentary. And it's like, why didn't you think that was racist? Even just from the bit that I played you. Like, when you play it longer, it's like, okay, fair enough. That's dangerous. And my thing is, I don't care if you call it racist or not, because I assume Trump was racist. It's dangerous in some respects. Especially when his direct attacks for Ilhan. Now, him hitting Lewis is a grown-ass man. Lewis can take care of himself. Lewis has been doing this for 50, 60 years.
We'll talk about that. We're going to show the clip and all that stuff later.
Ilhan is different. I feel that one is different.
Okay. On this one, John Hill, thank you, John Hill. He says, lesson from the last election, it's all rigged.
Well, that's another interesting point. Trump didn't mind calling out when he thought it was rigged. Like, if you remember, before the election was even over, Trump was like, it's rigged, it's rigged, it's rigged. Now, he was doing that because he assumed he was going to lose and he didn't want to look bad after he lost. He was like, oh, it was rigged, it was rigged. Trump would have won that. Look at my crowds. It was that. But then he wins and was like,
oh shit. Well, yeah. It was all fair.
It was all good. And then Melania Trump was crying. And then the Democratic Party is now, it's rigged, it's rigged, it's rigged. The catch is, when he was so terrified of screaming that they were cheating him, be less so. Be less so. Your supporters will back you. The Democratic Party will bitch at you, but they don't want you to win anyway. And fact of the matter is that party was cheating you. So, there's that.
Dataless Stream, he says, are U.S. voters anti-intellectual?
Sometimes. It depends on the voter. Like, honestly, it really does depend on the voter. The left tends to be less so because the left tends to be... it's harder to be on the left than the right and do this job. The right wing, you can get away with a lot of shit that you don't have to fully analyze. Like, snapshot answers can work. And even in mainstream media, like established media, the surface answer works. So you could say, well, yeah, Assad bombed him. And that's it. That's all you need. You run from there because everybody would take it as shorthand as, yes, Assad did this, ergo, we can just run from there in shorthand. That New York Times reporter who gets on and starts slamming Tulsi, and she's like, she's an Assad apologist, right? And Joe Rogan says, why do you say that? And she's like, because, and she didn't know. And they had to literally
I heard that somewhere, and so I'm parroting it.
I'm parroting it. That woman is a journalist, meaning she writes stuff for other people to consume. And she's saying stuff that she can't back up. It depends. There's some people who are. And sometimes the anti-intellectual thing goes more towards the American perspective. Like, it's the American perspective, so that's as far as I need to go. I don't need to delve further into other perspectives that may take hold in this particular situation. Like, I gave an example. When Bolton, or when sometimes they come out and they say, Bernie Sanders is not apologizing for the Iraq War vote. Why the fuck would Bernie Sanders apologize for the Iraq War vote? And if you get him on, CNN may try to rip him over the coals for something that was an outright, complete disaster, even by American troops' standpoint. Like, it's that stuff. Yeah. So it just depends on who you're talking to and the section of the political class that they belong to. Look, even Democrats, like when they talk about the Russia stuff, and it's like, Russia did it. And it's like, what do you mean Russia did it? I had a conversation with a guy. I've talked to this guy for months on it. The guy is a tech. And
the guy's a what?
He's a tech. He's a nurse tech.
Oh, okay.
And him and I would talk about the Trump-Russia stuff all the time, constantly. And then one day he says, Trump and the Russians are going to get together and rig it again like they rigged it last time. And my mouth hit the floor like, what? He says, we're never going to have another fair election again. And I said, you realize that the Republicans had more of a hand in cheating Clinton than the Russians ever could. Like interstate cross-check and those things shaved off elements of the vote in areas that she needed by the amounts that she needed. Yeah. Then why are you telling me about the Russians? It's like, and you also, Mueller said that they weren't connected. Well, Mueller didn't say, I didn't say he exonerated them. I said they didn't find a connection between those two things. So what are you using to make this connection? He doesn't have anything. Somewhere. I mean, it's just, he's been hearing it. He hates Trump, so that's enough. Yeah. I hate Trump too, but I hate him for real things.
All right. Real quick, super chats pertaining to this conversation. Well, not pertaining, but I don't want to miss this one. Hassam Ali, thank you for the super chat. Oh, crap. Sorry, my phone jumps around for these. Hassam Ali, thank you for the super chat. He said, shout out to Aisha Thomas. Thank you. He says, new hat last week. I guess all the haberdashers haven't gone. It's funny. I just said before the show, I found somewhere that sells a hat that might fit my big ass head.
That's funny.
Is it too much for me to wear a hat like Jamal's? What do you guys think?
It's right here. Here you go.
We'll be twinning. All right, and then pertaining to this conversation, before we move on, we had another super chat from Trudy. Thank you, Trudy. Trudy says, Dems rig primaries, Republicans rig the general.
That's always interesting, Greg, right? Palast. That's always fascinating to me. Like, and honestly, Trudy, this is the reason why I had no sympathy for them at the end.
For the Dems.
For the Democrats. I had zero sympathy. Like, I am one of those people that for the longest time just assume Republicans are the ones that rig elections. That was because from, just as being a Democrat for my entire life, and you could see where Republicans would cheat and fuck around on the edges. And then the Sanders election. And like you could see in real time, oh, they're fucking him over. And then it's like, and then the documents come out showing they were cheating him. And the Democratic Party screams to high heavens that the Russians were cheating them. And as a Sanders supporter who, is like, the Russians cheated you by revealing that you were cheating Sanders? And I'm supposed to cry a river for you over this? Oh, kick fucking rocks. Kick rocks. Kick rocks. Cry me a river.
You're supposed to say kick rocks with no shoes on.
No, just cry me a river.
Oh, okay.
Cry me a river.
All right, before we go on to Rob R., thank you. He says, Warren said she didn't endorse Bernie in 2016 for VP. She thinks it would be a good career move. Her political instinct is shit and got nothing in the end.
Yeah. Yeah. The wild part, TYT had Warren on. And TYT is pushing Warren, by the way. That's their horse. And you can tell they're pushing Warren just by the way, the softball way in which they talk about her and not be honest about the fact that she's going to take money after the fact. They're being grossly dishonest. Cenk Uygur is lying to his audience massively on Twitter because he's like, Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren are the only ones that are not. And I say, what are you talking about? This is a lie. You're lying.